You know, for years, the whole story of software development seemed to be about leaving the command line behind for these slick, graphical tools. But something really interesting is happening. Developers, even new ones, are going back. And the reason isn't nostalgia, it's artificial intelligence. Let's break down exactly why.
And this question, it really gets to the heart of something a lot of us feel, right? We are surrounded by these amazing, powerful apps, all designed to make our lives easier. So why do the most experienced engineers you know still spend their days staring at a blinking cursor in a plain black window? What do they know that maybe we don't? And why is this, frankly, old school interface suddenly looking like the future? So, to really get why this comeback is happening, we first have to look at the problem these developers are trying to escape. And that brings us to what I like to call the GUI paradox. This idea that all our simple, easy-to-use tools are secretly making our work way more complicated.
I mean, just look at this. On the left, you've got the typical developer screen, right? You've got windows for your code editor, Slack, your API tool like Postman, your ticket manager, the whole shebang. And then on the right, a single empty terminal. Now, for a long time, it really seemed like the left side was winning. But that visual chaos you're seeing, that's not just clutter. It's a huge hint at a major hidden cost. And that hidden cost is called the context switching tax. Just think about it for a second. Every single time you alt-tab from your code to your browser to a testing tool and back again, your brain has to completely refocus. It pays a little tax. And those little taxes, they add up fast. One Stack Overflow survey found that developers can lose up to 40% of their productive time just managing and fighting their own tools. I mean, that's a huge chunk of your day just gone. Okay, let's make this feel real, because we've all been here. You're deep in your IDE, writing code. You hit a bug. Okay, switch to the browser to search for a solution. Then you open a totally separate app to test an API endpoint. You go back to the code, try to apply a fix, then switch over to a Git client to commit your changes, and then over to Jira to update the ticket. Somewhere in that chain, poof, the original thought is gone. Your flow state is completely broken. So if the modern way is so fragmented, what's the alternative? Well, it's not about inventing something brand new. It's about rediscovering an old power and now giving it a brand new voice. To see where we're going, we kind of need to understand where we've been. As you can see here, it all started with the command line, way back in the 70s. It was unbelievably powerful, but you had to be a total expert to use it. Then, in the 80s, graphical interfaces from Apple and Microsoft just changed everything, right? They made computers easy for anyone to pick up. The trade-off, though, it was that fragmentation we were just talking about. And that brings us right to today, where AI is the bridge that's bringing developers back to the terminal. And this quote, this is everything. This gets to the very heart of why those senior devs never really left the terminal in the first place. The whole idea, known as the Unix philosophy, is pretty simple. You build small tools that each do one thing really, really well. The magic isn't in the tools themselves, it's in how you combine them. You can pipe the output of one command to become the input for another one, creating these incredibly powerful workflows without ever leaving that single window. Now, the problem has always been that you had to learn the very specific language of all those tools, all the weird flags and syntax, but that massive barrier is now finally crumbling, all thanks to one key catalyst: artificial intelligence. Okay, here's maybe the best way to think about it. Your GUI tools are like specialized kitchen appliances. You've got a toaster just for toast, a blender just for smoothies. Each one is great at its one job. The command line, though, that's the entire kitchen. It's the foundational space where you can combine raw ingredients and techniques in literally limitless ways. Right? So the crucial point here is that the CLI has always been this universal execution layer, one single place to make anything happen. The missing piece was the expert chef who knew how to use all the tools in the kitchen. And now, AI is that expert chef. It understands what you want in plain English and knows exactly how to operate the kitchen for you. And this shows the fundamental shift. Before AI, you had to be a language expert. You needed to know the exact, totally unforgiving syntax for every command. One wrong character and the whole thing fails. But now, with AI, you just describe what you want to do, your intent. The power of the terminal is exactly the same as it always was. What's changed is that you no longer need to be fluent in its language to use it. That steep learning curve has been flattened. Let's look at a super concrete example. You want to clean up old log files. Instead of digging through help pages trying to remember the syntax for the find command, you just say what you want. Delete all .log files older than 7 days.
The AI translates that intent into the perfect, precise command you need. It's this beautiful partnership between what you want to do and the machine's ability to do it.
So what does this actually look like in your day-to-day work? Well, for debugging, instead of guessing, you can just ask, why is my server slow? And get suggestions for commands like top or netstat with explanations of what they do. For automation, you can describe a whole workflow and the AI will literally write the shell script for you. And for just exploring a codebase, you can find things without ever having to master the complexities of grep and regular expressions.
Okay, so this all sounds amazing, right? But hold on, this is not a silver bullet. This new way of working is an incredibly powerful tool, but it is not a replacement for everything. So let's build a really practical framework for when to actually use it. You're going to get the most bang for your buck from an AI-powered terminal when you're dealing with those repetitive tasks you wish you could automate. It is absolutely perfect for complex, multi-step workflows that would normally have you jumping between 5 different apps. Server administration and DevOps work, that's a natural fit. And really, it's for any time you want to stay in that deep, focused state without breaking your concentration. But, and this is super important, you gotta know when to stick with a good old GUI. If your work is inherently visual, like UI design, a GUI is still the right tool for the job, hands down. Also, when you're first learning a fundamental concept, it's often way better to use a tool that helps you visualize it. And hey, for a quick one-off search, just Googling it is still probably faster.
And look, we have to be brutally honest about the risks here. AI is not perfect. It can, and it absolutely will, generate incorrect or even dangerous commands. You must always review what it suggests before you hit enter, especially with destructive commands. Think of it as a really knowledgeable assistant, not an infallible genius. The biggest trap for beginners is what's called cargo culting, just blindly copying and pasting commands without ever understanding what they actually do. That is a recipe for disaster.
So with all of that in mind, what does this trend really mean for the future of how we build software? Where is all of this headed?
For me, this statement just captures the essence of this whole shift perfectly. The raw power of the command line was never in doubt. The composability, the direct control, that stuff was always there. We just built all these layers of abstraction on top of it that made us forget its native language. AI isn't the destination, it's the translator that gets us back to that powerful, powerful core.
And when you look to the future, this isn't just about making our work easier today. It's about building the foundation for the next wave of AI. As AI systems become more and more autonomous, able to plan and execute tasks on their own, they're going to need a universal way to interact with our computers. And the command line is that universal layer. For developers, learning to combine the power of the terminal with AI isn't just a cool new skill, it's a massive strategic advantage for what's coming next.
So there you have it, the command line's big comeback. It's a story of rediscovering old power through a completely new lens. And it leaves us with one final thought to consider. What's the first repetitive, frustrating, or complex task that you would hand over to an AI copilot in your own terminal? The answer to that question might just be the start of your whole new workflow.